Hello once again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of At Home with the Gamecocks, presented by Ford. As you probably know by now, Ray Hammett, two different stints as the color analyst on Gamecock Sports Network for Jacksonville State football, 19 years total. He is retiring. So how do you replace somebody like Ray Hammett? Well, you go to an All-American and a Jacksonville State Hall of Famer and former defensive back Eric Mims. He played for the Gamecocks from 94 to 97, and he will be taking over in this 2020 football season. What a year to begin. But he will be taking over as a color analyst on our football broadcast on the Gamecock Sports Network. First of all, thank you for accepting the position, sir, and wanting to put up with me for the next several weeks here when we get into September. And congratulations on being chosen. How do you feel about coming back home, so to speak, I guess, best way to put it?
I think that's the biggest thing, right? You come back home, getting back into the atmosphere, getting around with players. It's exciting. You know, it's an opportunity to give back. And you always look for an opportunity to give back and you know, to measure up to what you and Ray have done over the years. I mean, you can't, right? You just try to fill in where you can and get better as you go.
Thank you for the comments, but that's not going to get you a raise with what you're doing, okay? All right. You played here from 94 to 97, and I remember those years that you were here. Hall of Famer, as I mentioned, that happened a few years back. You're the all-time leading tackler in Jacksonville State history. I remember the night in September of 1996, Thibodaux, Louisiana at Nicholls State, 33 tackles. It is the best single-game tackle performance in Jacksonville State football history. The FCS only started counting tackles in a game since 2000, but even that would still be the highest number ever. What was so great about that night? What led you to make 33 tackles that night?
If I can recall, I don't think we hadn't won a game or we were. I mean, it was just an opportunity to win. You know, I think going into that week, it was a down year for us as a team. And you had so much going on. You had guys you had come in with, they had ventured to do, they started other avenues. As you're in college, you have opportunity to do other things.
Right.
And it's just to put the focus on the game. And I remember being on the sideline and the focus was not on the game at that time. And it's just, hey man, we got to win, you know? And the biggest thing that sticks out in that game is not making that interception. You know, we make the interception, we win. So I don't remember the tackle, but I do remember that ball set over my hand and not make interception. The guy scores. So.
All right. Obviously, that is a highlight of your career, that game. But are there some other games that stick out in your mind from 94 to 97 when you think about your career?
You know, I tell you the 95 year when we started 5-0, and I think. Gosh, we go up to Western Kentucky and we lose.
Right.
I think that year, that was our year. That was our moment. And
tough loss that night too.
Huh?
Tough loss that night too, wasn't it?
I think I know that week I break my hand because it rains. It's a storm that week. So I think I break my hand in practice. So we had to practice inside the gym or whatever concourse we were in. And we have I can't remember, it was Joel's brother. He's a center. He gets hurt. And
John
he was
Ingram.
Yep. And he was the nucleus of the offensive line.
Right.
And I think we went downhill from there. And that year sticks out in my mind greatly.
As I mentioned, all-time leading tackler. You have the two best single seasons in Jacksonville State history. You had 145 total tackles in 96. 97 wasn't quite as good. You only had 129 that year. But you played DB, but you also moved around some, sort of a linebacker spot. You were, I guess it was a hybrid kind of deal, and we see more of that now in today's game than we saw when you played, right?
Correct. You definitely. I think you get to the point where with the schemes that the offenses are running, you just can't be stagnant. You know, you can't let them pick you apart. You got to – when I came in, and it was amazing, you come out of high school, I only weigh 150-some pounds, you know, maybe, right? And they say, Eric, you're going to be an outside linebacker. And so you're recruited and you walk into the thing and you meet Coach Stewart and he says, you know what, I'm going to make you great. You know, what does that mean? What does that look like, right? I think it was an oxymoron because my first 2 years, my redshirt year and my sophomore year, I'm playing outside linebacker. And then when we changed the offense to a 4-3, I go from the safety and I can roam a bit. And that's what you see with your dime package and the fronts that you see now. You got D lineman dropping back in coverage, and it just to throw the quarterback off to make him uncomfortable. I
got to admit, I went back and looked in the 1995 media guide, 95, your sophomore season. You were listed at 165 pounds. That's what you were listed at.
And you know what? I think they shrunk me. I went from 5'11" and a half to 5'9" to 165 to make me look bulkier, right?
You mentioned the Ingrams, and I got to thinking about them. Montressa Kirby, Joey Hamilton, some other guys, Daniel Kirkland you played with, and all those guys. As you come back to do this, what does it mean, you think, to those fellas that you played with in your 4 years here?
You know, and I think that's the most interesting aspect of it, you know. No one knows that I hadn't shared, you know, what you and I discussed because it took so long to get a yes, right? So, you know, you're talking about some good people. So, you know, you would hope they would, you know, if they're not back, they'll come back. Right. And actually listen. I know I listened to you. Listen, you've been doing I don't want to age you, but you've been doing my, you know.
Since you were in high school, I know.
Yeah, and so it's you know, to be on the road traveling and to listen to the game and still be connected, I mean, that's huge. And hopefully that brings the connection amongst the guys who have played. They can hear a familiar voice, you know, something they can connect to. So I remember when he did X, Y, Z, you know, so the things that wasn't too smart, right?
If you put a headset on, been practicing, turn the TV down, practicing talking like that or anything?
You know, ideally, you know, you have kids. So my kids, you know, you walk around, they're playing these video games and they're looking at TV. So my son, he orders him a new headset probably every 2 months, right? And so he donates me a headset. So I definitely have him walk around with a headset on. And, you know, as I talk to people and, you know, trying to get acclimated to it, the comfortability of, you know, doing it.
Well, just these few moments spending time with you, I think our fans are in for a treat. I'm looking forward to it. And obviously, it'll take a little time, but I know just in my conversations with you, you're excited about it too.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you got to understand, you are a Hall of Famer. So nobody tells you that, right? But again,
don't even go there.
No, but honestly, because, you know, you do your research and you start talking to people who are doing it in the business currently and doing it at the Division I level. And one of the biggest things that one of the gentlemen shared with me is, listen, you got to have someone who knows what they're doing because they can set you up. And so if it wasn't you, I probably would be doing it, you know?
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. We got a few days, but we'll be ready to go here when we head to Miami to play FIU. Thank you, sir. I'm looking forward to it. There's just 2 rules you got to remember, okay? 2 things to remember. No matter how excited you get, whatever happens, how big the play is, you don't hit the old guy that's next to you, okay? That's right. Rule number 1. Rule number 2 is don't forget rule number 1, okay?
I love it.
All right, man. Thanks. See you soon, okay?
Likewise. You guys take care.
All right. Thanks. Eric Mims, Jacksonville State's new color analyst for our football broadcast coming up here in 2020 at home with the Gamecocks, presented by Ford.